Hey there, guys. This is Flamesaron, aka YouTube's Tusk, and this is, I guess, kind of a Tales of Eternia online final thought video. I mean, since the game's been closed down, I can't get any footage from the game, without going to YouTube. And I feel like with this MMO, I'd rather have my own footage to go off of as opposed to taking someone else's. Because it's not like Dawn of the New World where, I can't record it without, where, the stuff I need, I kind of need to get it from somewhere else because I can't get it, or I couldn't get it at the time. But anywho. So I figured I should just, do my usual, my thoughts kind of format. But at the same time, this is sort of my final thought video on the game. So I figured, whatever. Call it what you want, but it doesn't really matter. To start off with, I discovered this game, I think through a link somewhere. I can't really remember where. And I got excited about it, so I told, the skit style BBS about it. This was, of course, during my emo year, so it was very emo-like. I think this was during, Tales Central as well. Can't remember. But I do remember playing Tales of Eternia beforehand. I can't remember. It's been a while. This was 2006, I think. 2006, 2007. Or something like that. But I remember being really excited about it. This was also the time where I learned some terminology of MMOs, like open beta, closed beta. I tried to get into the closed beta, couldn't get into it. I think I got into the open beta, but couldn't really do much about it, And, I was really excited about it and whatnot, telling all my buddies, oh, I'm really close. I even downloaded, a Japanese version of Firefox for it, because you couldn't download it off, an English web browser. And so this was the start of Firefox for me, and of course nowadays I use an English version, because there's no point to use a Japanese version. But, I remember I got as far as downloading and installing the game, and when I tried to actually play it, it was region locked and I couldn't play it anymore. That really sucked. I was a little upset. But, I couldn't really help it. I do remember my eye twitching when I got the game to run. 'Cause, I was really excited about it. I really wanted to play it. The idea of playing an online Tales game really made me happy. Not just multiplayer, but with other people all across the world. I was really excited about it. But other people did get a chance to play it. Some Tales series forum people, and I think some YouTubers, as well as probably Japanese fans. They didn't really like it too much. I think they kind of tolerated it, but it was mediocre at best. One thing that was kind of a common complaint was the lack of Celestia in the game, which honestly, to me, that just kind of makes sense, because, they said that the game takes place on Disc 2 of Eternia, where, they're in Celestia. So they probably were thinking that they didn't want, Tales of Eternia Online to, kind of mess up Eternia's story. They probably just kind of wanted to keep the two things separate. They probably felt like they could get away with making, an MMO off of Eternia, because they figured, okay, the main cast of the story, they go to Celestia, so what happens in Eternia, we can probably do some stuff there. They can technically do the same thing with Symphonia, but I think that it would be a shorter amount of time. What with the gang going to Tetheala and whatnot. But anyway, what else? And they also probably didn't want, the players to be all like, oh, where's Reed in the gang? I don't want to play as my created character. I want to play as, Reed or whoever else. Which, I don't know. I mean, I'm not really one of those kind of people. If I get to make a character in a video game, I will probably play as that character. Especially if I'm playing like Elder Scrolls or Dragon Age, where it's the role-playing aspect is kind of important. And I kind of just make sort of an avatar of myself. Anywho. Also, the people who played it, from what we can tell, you couldn't use the arrow keys or AWS and AWS and D, actually, sorry, to move around. You had to use the mouse, which I find is kind of stupid because it's just so dumb. Like, why? I mean, I hate that. I hate it when you have to use the mouse to move around. I'd rather use like AWS and D or the arrow keys. Like, I think EverQuest 1 did that, where you could do mouse click or, arrow keys, and even DFO does that with the, mouse click, but also, the arrow keys. But, that's just my opinion. I personally don't like mouse clicking. I'd rather just move around with like AWS and D or the arrow keys. Preferably AWS and D, but that's just me. And also, apparently, you had to use the function keys in order to move around or not attack. My mind's going kind of cuckoo or something. You had to use the function keys to attack, but it was weird because F1 would do your regular slashes, but F2 would do your stabbing. It wasn't like where you press down and then the attack button you would stab. You had to press, F2 to stab, and your arts were hotkeys, which makes sense. I mean, it is an MMO. But, which that kind of is weird too. I mean, I guess it kind of goes along with the whole mouse thing, but still, they could, I don't know, I feel like the function keys don't really work well for a controller kind of thing. Like, I feel like that's almost like pressing start or select to do attacks, and I don't even think you can do that. And I don't even think you can configure the game, like actual video games, to do that with the controller options. But, people didn't really seem to have any problem with the character customization. I mean, it was what it was, It was pretty good from what I understood. And you could choose your starting town, kind of like how in EverQuest 2, depending on your race or your elite alignment, whether or not you're good, neutral, or evil, you got to choose where you wanted to be. And even when you choose one side, you still have, like, 2 choices. Like, if you choose to be evil in EverQuest 2, you have a choice of either Freeport or Nariak, which is interesting. But you have to choose your town. I already know what town I would choose. I don't remember what it's called, but, Other complaints from what I've heard, people seem to find the game a little hard. Like, there'd be times where enemies were easy, but then there'd be times where it was hard. And I remember I showed, like, screen where, like, this guy was partying with someone, and, like, all of his teammates were in, and he's like, oh, I'm going to run away. So he tries to run away. I don't know if he survived or not, but... and also you could get Tails costumes, which seemed to be pretty cool. Like, I